I wanted to tell you a story about going up and down a mountain and how it relates to prayer. The setting was very cold. It was 26 degrees or so at that time. It had snowed, and all the leaves of November had fallen on the trail. Rick and I were making our way up this last portion of the Appalachian. I loved it. However, it became steeper and steeper, and I got so tired. And I said, Rick, I'm going to have to stop and rest. I can't go any further. So he said, I'll go on up over the mountain to the New York side, and you stay here and wait for me, and I'll come back, and we'll head back down together. While I was on the mountain, so much of my time was conversation with God. I call that prayer. And looking back, I saw there were elements of prayer that he was teaching me about there on the side of that mountain. But time was passing, and I'm waiting, and Rick still has not returned. And I thought, I need to go ahead and start making my way down. It had snowed. The leaves had fallen. There was no visible sign of the trail. On the Appalachian Trail, there are blazes painted on trees. So you look for a white rectangular sign painted on a tree. When you see that, you know you're on the trail. I could not see ahead of me because there are so many boulders and leaves and snow. I couldn't see the blaze ahead of me. I could only see the one behind me. So I turned and looked at the blaze behind me, and that told me where I was. I was on the right path. And I learned so much about God's faithfulness. Look back when you're not sure of how to look forward and where to step forward. Look back at his faithfulness. He's called faithful and true. As I got home and considered more about this whole journey, what God was teaching me and continues to teach me, that as he gives us his purpose, we won't know every step. I've seen that over and over as I've looked back at his faithfulness. As I was in the Word one day, God nudged me to be open to working with refugees in the Richardson community. He continued to nudge me, and I got in my car and went over to where I knew they were located, found an office that was managing refugee services, and went in and offered mine. I felt clueless of what this would look like. And they said, would you vacuum? I was taken aback. Not that I don't like to vacuum, but I thought I had envisioned something mighty and big, but often our first steps look like vacuuming. And so I started vacuuming. I did that for several weeks. A family came in asking for help with English. I am a speech pathologist and study linguistics and love teaching people how to speak English. So I began meeting with this Kurdish family, primarily the women, and teaching them English. We developed a beautiful relationship. Ultimately, they had to move to Nashville. That last time I was with them, we were making bread. They were teaching me how to make their bread. Haja asked me if I would pray for her. And I said, certainly. What is it you want me to pray? She said, I have not been able to have a child. So I said, absolutely. We dusted off our hands with the flour on our hands and stopped to pray. And I began to ask God to open her womb and give her this child. That was the last time I ever saw Haja. Months later, in fact, 9.5 months later, a man from a Christian organization in Nashville called me. He said, you don't know me, but you know a friend of mine, Haja. She wanted me to call you and tell you she had a baby boy. Not only that, the whole family has come to faith in Christ Jesus. I won't see Haja most likely until heaven, but I will see her there. God showed me every purpose He calls us to. I can trust Him for the steps. As I look back on that journey going up and then back down the mountain, I think of how that conversation with God really started at that Table Rock. And I learned to trust that He was there. And He taught me so many things as I got off the mountain and looked back that I probably would not have understood had I not had that moment at that Table Rock. Now, I have young women meeting at my table in my kitchen. That's my calling, to equip women to know how to sit with the Lord and open His Word and hear His voice and then walk out their purpose that He has assigned to them. I don't know what this looks like in the future, but I know God is faithful as I look back. And I know He is true, and what He invites me to join Him in will get me where He wants me to be.